American Renaissance, a critical review of the recently declassified memoir of a true government informant and glorified spy from Paul Samuel Mills and David Cartwright, former managing editors of the Connecticut Reader and London Digest of Books, September 2022, before they were summarily executed point-blank range outside a Paris train station. The plot, according to the anonymous author, if there ever was one, is probably as close as it comes to the definition of pure evil, perhaps the most horrifying thought anyone could plausibly consider to occur. For those who live by the tenets of faith-based Christianity, the cover-up to destroy all evidence of the second coming of Jesus Christ is not only pure evil, but also unthinkable to have already happened. In the year 2000, the unlikely plausibility of such a scenario was raised surrounding only a few rare but corroborated instances of supernatural occurrences to have come to pass during the little-known existence and work of the late artist and intellectual thinker Sean Dorian Knight. Recently, however, there has been an increasing amount of unwanted publicity and investigated evidence in terms of forensic military accounting, decades of top-secret lethal preparations, botched clandestine ops, and recovered classified digital assets, as well as from eyewitness accounts, to support the notion that during the early to mid-1990s, in the run-up to the millennium, a quasi-governmental plot to kill the One was indeed reaching a fevered pitch, and it was actually very real. The interagency chatter that sparked the internal publicity in question first came to its highest peak from 1997 to 1998 by the way of United States congressional hearings with the discovery of Operation S-Crypt for Savior's Crypt, a program with a long pedigree extending all the way to America's first incursion into the war in Southeast Asia. More currently, and to highlight the controversial declassified government document which undergirds the scope of this critical review, speculation of the existence of a paper trail for the secret agenda of an Operation Savior's Crypt was revived when in late 2017, a FOIA petition filed during the discovery proceeding of a closed investigation unearthed an unexpected memoir previously considered a matter of national security. For reasons unknown, the manuscript of the recently declassified memoir, whose pages also document the workings of a covert special operation being secretly carried out in France during the 1990s, are now being released in 3 volumes of the anonymous book going under the title American Renaissance, a mostly cryptic compilation of authentic handwritten journal entries and heavily edited Defense Intelligence Agency documents, of which numerous pages had been once included, then redacted, from the 9/11 Commission Report, or what is known as the official final report of the National Commission on the Terrorist Attacks upon the United States. When it comes to any reliable proof or records to verify the internal, legendary existence of a top-secret file under the name of Operation Savior's Crypt, or the Prometheus File, as alluded to in the handwritten journals of American Renaissance, however, no such answers were forthcoming, and any rumors that appeared to corroborate the actual mission objectives of this caliber and level of secrecy proceeded to be debunked as quickly as they took shape. It has not been until the recent resurfacing of this anonymous memoir during the FBI raid and the confiscation of secret documents found in the summer of 2022 in the former 45th President of the United States home in Mar-a-Lago in a folder labeled under the President of France, some 29 years after the siege at Waco, Texas, and the deaths of so many innocent individuals. In fact, there has never been any found paperwork or documents to support the existence of such a nefarious government agenda. Yes, devastating as the prospect of such an evil paper trail could be, impossible, most would say. The existence of Operation Savior's Crypt is a truth that would be much easier easier for the government to plausibly deny, would it not have to contend with the embarrassing institutional and sometimes personal details revealed in this scandalous book. If one were to believe in the truth of everything told about the controversial artist Dorian Knight, perhaps it could almost be considered a self-help spiritual guide for creative minds, although this assessment would negligently omit the serious allegations made against government authorities, along with a further litany of holy and sacrilegious institutional crimes as detailed in the anonymous text. Albeit these shocking charges still remain without sufficient proof to warrant the setting in motion of a grand jury investigation. Nonetheless, for several years, some retired CIA veterans had made speculation of the possible motives and deployment of an unnamed clandestine paramilitary unit dedicated to this unspeakable objective of hunting down the real-life second coming of a supposed Jesus or Messiah, going as far back as the Vietnam War, and the government's questionably named killing campaign dubbed the Christmas Bombing of 1972. Then again, 20-odd years later, after the Church Committee hearings, in the aftermath following the astonishing unwarranted use of excessive military force against civilians in 1993 during the planned assault and assassination of the self-proclaimed Messiah, David Koresh, for example, in Waco, Texas, which cost the lives of over 70 innocent women and children, as well as many other examples of government authorities' violent pattern of lethal force when stepping in to quell or extinguish the social agitation and potential revolutionary change caused by charismatic artists like Jim Morrison, John Lennon, and Elvis Presley, or individuals of political consequence such as Che Guevara, JFK, Robert Kennedy, Martin Luther King, or Malcolm X. Indeed, although the government had been involved in the search and hunt for such a dangerous social revolutionary figures or political agitators even since before 1947 and the founding of the CIA, it was in the rising economic tide of the decade after and the advent of widespread television broadcast in the 1950s, when TV as a medium was becoming capable of reaching and influencing millions of the world's population, that the possibility for an individual messianic threat only became more pronounced. Aside from the guise of alternate history, however, and its tale of high-stakes bohemian espionage set in Paris, the setting in which the anonymous first-person soldier and poet-narrator of American Renaissance details the government's real-life plot to assassinate the infamous artist Dorian Knight, on account of a 2,000-year-old ancient twin prophecy and 2nd century relic found in an Egyptian desert, and some people's claim of him being the potential Messiah and savior of humankind. The book, in its current edition with the permission of the Defense Intelligence Agency, has been divided into 3 volumes and categorized by the Library of Congress as a quote-unquote psychological memoir, analyzing the most heinous of hidden true historical crimes from the recently declassified papers and diaries of a compromised government informant. American Renaissance thus traces the sudden rise and tragic ambition of the late political and socio-economic revolutionary Sean Dorian Knight, a brilliant young American artist whose radical theory of art history at the turn of the millennium attracts a violent religious following that threatens to upend not only the bonds of world peace as well as Wall Street, but forever change our faith in civilization as we know it. Taken from the confidential government cables and confiscated journals of a young American soldier, spy, and aspiring poet stranded in Paris at the time, the first-person testimony is at once the story of one of the artist's closest and most loving disciples, and an important public record of the narrator's harrowing experience as the sole survivor of a mission of unspeakable evil and secrecy, beginning sometime after a violent explosion in the City of Light, when having passed several days in a coma, he awakens only to discover that 3 of his platoon mates are dead. At the same time, he receives his shocking lethal orders from his new commanding officer and is ultimately faced with the cruel choice of having to either kill his best friend or the woman that he loves. So, we are led through the eyes of an embedded informant on the mind-bending tale and cryptic path of art history, espionage, and government secrets, on the hunt for a mysterious enemy, of whose anonymous identity and prophesized rise, till this day, the government will use any amount of deadly force to keep hidden and destroy.